For those of you who have been with us for all 8 webinars, congratulations and thank you. It's been so fun to, introduce you to a lot of our alumni and just share a little bit more about why we love the YAS Prize. And for those who missed some other webinars, don't be concerned because they're all on our YouTube YAS Prize channel. And so you can see all the recordings and go back through in your spare time and watch some of them. So here we go. Today's webinar has really 2 clear missions. One, it's to remind you that there's every reason to submit and there's no reason not to submit. And second, it's to introduce you and get you inspired by 2 of our fabulous alumni. I think it's no surprise that this webinar has been our most attended and the most people registered for this webinar. And it's no surprise because we have 2 fabulous awardees who are going to share and inspire and motivate you to submit. So here we go. So I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of the YAS Prize, why we think, again, you have all the reasons to submit and no reasons not to. As I mentioned, we'll hear from Portia Green and Diana Diaz-Harrison, and then we'll take some Q&A from the audience. We will be using the Q&A feature for the question and answer time. So if you have a question during, feel free to put your question in the Q&A portion, not the chat. The chat is for, sharing where you're from and that informal communication, but we're going to use the Q&A for the actual question and answer portion. Okay, so we know that things are really busy. We know that you might be in hiring, you might be working towards a board meeting coming up, you might be opening up a school, you're doing a lot of different things. And so you might be thinking to yourself, why am I going to take time to do this? Is this a shot in the dark? And so what I'm here to explain to you is, that there is, again, no reason not to submit. And I'm going to go through a couple of those reasons right now. So the first is the accelerator. And we had a whole webinar on the accelerator 2 weeks ago. So I encourage you to learn a little bit more. But I promise you that the accelerator is unlike any other education conference. And every single person who submits an application gets invited to our 3-week virtual accelerator, where you'll have access to a whole host of different speakers in education and not, some in business, some in finance, some that have coached celebrities. It's really an amazing group of individuals. And every single person that we invited to speak to this year's accelerator has said yes. They've come back time and time again. We have some new people in the mix this year. But it's a way to hop on Zoom, get some inspiration, get some takeaways to further your development. But again, it's so different than any other education conference, where often a bunch of, similar minded leaders are in the same room talking about issues that pertain to them. So, a charter school conference, it's all charter school leaders, or a private school conference, it's private school leaders. This brings a whole host of industry experts from lots of different industries. So I promise that just by clicking submit, you'll be invited to all 3 weeks, which is in November. And then if you're an awardee of ours and one of our 32 semifinalists, you'll come to Miami with us. And that's the bar and the talent of speakers gets a little bit higher. And it's just an incredible experience. And I'm sure that Portia and Diana will talk a little bit more about that soon. The second reason you should absolutely submit is when you submit, every single applicant gets access to our YAS Prize platform. This is just one of the map features that I thought is so cool, where you can see where everyone from our community is. And these are not just our awardees, but these are applicants, because we feel like we want to open up this community and not be as exclusive. There are definitely things that are exclusive for our awardees, but this is not one of them. And so if you wanted to message Diana in the platform and, check and ask her a question about X, Y, or Z, you can do that. And same with Portia. They're both on the platform, and it's just a way, it's like your personalized LinkedIn for a community of education innovators that are throughout the country. So if you are interested in learning more about meeting the needs of your students with autism, or if you are traveling to Dallas, Texas, and you want to see who's there, like, this platform just has so many different options for you. And again, it's open to all applicants as long as you submit by Saturday. Third, the YAS Prize gives important exposure to other leaders who are redefining pre-K to 12 education. If you've been with us for a lot of these webinars, you've met so many of these leaders. No two leader and no two of our awardees are the same. They're all from different states, from different sectors, but they all bring a level of passion and expertise and individualization that makes them awardees of ours. And so when we bring them all together in a room, it gives you exposure. And you might say, you know what? I really loved like learning from David. I want to go and find him and have a more deeper conversation. Or I was really intrigued by what Portia was saying about how she's expanding to pre-K. I'm doing the same thing, and I want to learn from what she's already doing. So, with Oakmont Education and Chickasaw City Schools, they didn't know each other before the YAS Prize. Now, not only do they know each other super well, but their students are collaborating to make prosthetic legs for people in Latin America. So they're each working on that in Alabama and Ohio, and then they're meeting in Latin America to see the fruits of their labor, in action. Rapunzel and Capital Prep Schools are working together. Rapunzel is a financial literacy app. Capital Prep Schools is a high performing charter in the Bronx and Connecticut, and they are partnering together where Capital Prep Schools doesn't have time to build a financial literacy curriculum. Like they're doing other things. They don't have time. Rapunzel's doing that really, really well. Let's join forces and be better together. And so these are just two of the hundreds of collaborations. And again, it's really about thinking smart and working smart, because you could partner with every YAS Prize awardee, right? But that's not necessarily sustainable. That's not necessarily the best way to be transformative. But how can you leverage, if you become an awardee of ours, 2 or 3 important collaborations in order to make what you're delivering to students even stronger? I think this kind of speaks for itself, but we really aim to break down silos that typically stand strong in education. A lot of times you only are exposed to the people that are in your same sector, and we break down those. And I get emails all the time about, I'm a Catholic school, can I apply? Or I'm a homeschool, can I apply? And the answer, as long as you're working with students, is yes. Our favorite was Dr. Corey Steiner, who many of you met at one of our past webinars. He's the superintendent of schools at Northern Cass in North Dakota, and he led an innovation summit with over 300 educators. And our awardees, a lot of them, maybe like 7 or 8 of them, went to travel to North Dakota for the first time to attend his conference. And it just shows, how they wanted to support him. They spoke at his conference, and I know that all the other attendees learned a ton from the cohort being there collectively. The YAS Prize supports our alumni way past their award year. So when I think about this, we could easily say, here, Diana, here, Portia, here's your money, congratulations, like, good luck, and kind of wash our hands and say, they're going to do what's best. And we do that, but we do so much more. So we are in constant communication with our alumni for all different reasons. Some want press support from us, and we're happy to meet with you and provide that. Some are looking for connections based on their state. Global Ed Solutions was moving to Florida, and so we connected them with other schools in Florida, private schools who were, growing and being in Florida for the first time. We also have a YAS Prize alumni grant. Again, the whole idea of the YAS Prize is that you can be sustainable without continual philanthropy. But if there is an exception where you're trying to continue to grow and add new students and seats, we do have a specific grant for that, that's only open to alumni. And those details are only for our awardees. So, and then there's so many more speaking opportunities and conference opportunities and ways that our alumni come together, like the North Dakota conference that I just spoke about. So it's very much like, once you're welcomed into our community, you are forever a part of our family. My colleague Josephine and I, earlier today, we were working on who we're going to invite to Ed Tech Week. which is in September in New York City, hosted by Start Ed. And we were kind of picking a group from our first year of awardees and our second year, and really pulling out like who's going to tell this story of what the YAS Prize is. And so the opportunities are endless, and know that it's very much a multi-year, not commitment. We don't expect anything, but we offer a lot past that first year. And I just love this quote. Jeff Imrich is one of the co-founders of Rock by Rock, with Sung-Yae Yang, who's right there on the left. He was a judge last year at our pitch competition, and he said, "You're not going to regret pressing submit, and you'll never know if you don't try. 6 months from now, in December, you don't want to look at the top 64 and think, gosh, I could have been part of that network." Ladies and gentlemen, it takes 4 to 6 hours to complete the application. This is not a grant application that should take a week of your time. We don't have a week. It's Saturday is coming, whether we want it to or not. And so really, don't perseverate. Go with your gut, tell your story, and truly the most important thing is that at the end of the day, you're pressing submit, but also don't wait till the end of the day on Saturday. And I'll go through a little bit about that. We will be, my team is going to be available for you today and tomorrow, all the way through Friday, to answer any and all questions. When an email comes in through our inbox, to info@yasprize.org, we usually answer it within 2 to 3 hours, because we know how important it is to get you that live answer. We also have 2 office hours coming up later this week, which I'll make sure we share. Our team is going to be available a little bit on Saturday here and there to answer emails and voicemails. It's just going to be a lot more difficult. So I would really encourage you, take back your weekend. You all deserve it. And really try to get your application in on Friday. Because I promise you, on Saturday at 9 p.m., you're going to try to hit submit, and then there's going to be an error, and you're not going to be able to get in touch with us. And that's when the stress levels are going to rise, and we're going to have our hands tied a little bit, because we're not going to be able to support if there's lots of major issues. Friday, Thursday, anything is fair game. So please really, really try to get it in on Friday, so that we can support you, so that it's not a stressful submission process. As I've spoken about in past webinars, we are right here, July 15th, in a couple of short days, our application deadline. In September, our quarter finalists will be announced, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., where we're going to have a complete live stream on September 14th. October 9th and 10th will be in Cleveland in partnership with Forbes at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Cleveland Art Museum. So a really big celebration. All 64 will be flown in, and then we'll be cutting the group in half to 32 during those 2 days. Then, as I mentioned, we have the 3-week virtual accelerator leading up to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving will happen, and then we'll have the 1-week in-person accelerator week in Miami following Thanksgiving. And then mid-December is when our finalists and winner are revealed at the Hilton in New York City. So lots of exciting things. I think the most important date for all of you on this webinar right now is that July 15th, and making sure that you don't make up any reasons in your head for why you can't press submit by then. So now to the most exciting part. Here I have with us Portia Green, who is from Pritchard Preparatory School, and I will definitely have her introduce and tell a little bit more about what she does. And Diana Diaz Harrison, our $1 million winner last year, who is the founder of Arizona Autism Charter Schools. So let me stop my screen share. Welcome you both. So good to see you. Portia, let me start with you. Can you share, a little bit about who you are, why you do what you do, and where you're from?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Enjoyed listening to that and just going through the whole process. Made me think of myself and the cohort from last year. But hello to everyone. Thank you so much for being here and tuning in. I am Portia Green, principal of Pritchard Preparatory School, where we're located here in Whistler, Alabama. I've been a part of Pritchard Prep now since 2011, and just share a little bit about my journey and how I started here. I began as a parent at Pritchard Prep, and I was introduced to the school for my daughter was in a public school locally, and a teacher shared with me about Pritchard Prep. I came over to find out about the school, fell in love with the mission and the heart and passion that Pritchard Prep had to educate students academically, spiritually, and culturally. So I started volunteering here as a parent, and I came on board pretty quickly. I worked my way up from a volunteer, teacher, executive director, and now principal. I love the heart and passion that the teachers had. I love the small classroom sizes where the teachers had more one-on-one with the students. I believe I'm a servant leader. There is no job too small. And just thankful for my team that undergirds me. And it's because of them that I can do what I do. I feel like they are the backbone of this school. We are a school that serve the Pritchard community, where you have a lot of students where don't have any other choice to go to any other schools. We are the only private school in this area to provide parents school choice. And we serve low to moderate income families in grades pre-K 4 through 5th grade. And that's just a little bit about Pritchard Prep. We offer so many, the arts with music, Spanish, technology, library, recess, and our students get to go to these classes every single day, where you don't see that in most schools where you have music or art one day a week, but our students get to partake of that each and every day, which is a blessing for our students, where we see when they leave us, they are going into it. It's in a 90-something percentile where they're going to other private schools or other magnet and college preparatory schools. So that's what I do. The reason why I do it is because they're our future. I think of myself, I am a product of public school, and there's no slight on public school. But as you see how today's society is changing and how we are a tech driven society, there are endless opportunities and where we can be as creative and innovative in the classroom as we desire. One thing I can say about the Yas Prize, how it has blessed us. Oh my goodness. Caroline said it, the opportunities are endless. And even just having the privilege and the honor just to be here today to speak speaks of those opportunities that are endless. Yes.
We're going to get to so much more. Thank you
Yes,
for
yes,
that
I know I'm
awesome
speaking
introduction.
before.
Thank you for that awesome introduction.
Yeah.
Diana, you also have a really personal story that explains why you do what you do. Can you share a little bit more with us right now?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone. I just have to say that one of the most special parts of being part of the Yas Prize was meeting Portia, and to know that out there in this great nation, there are other mother leaders, and that if I lived in that community, I would absolutely put my child in Portia's school because she is that awesome. But it was great to be part of the Yas Prize and connect with so many doing this great work. And as Caroline shared, I do have a very personal story about why I started Arizona Autism Charter School 10 years ago. We're now in our 10th year of operation. And it was because I didn't find a school that was a fit for my son, Sammy, who is on the autism spectrum. And I really wanted so much more than just a very basic compliance bar. I wanted all of the creativity and innovation. I wanted people who had a passion for working with kids like my son, and it wasn't a requirement. I wanted him to, have supports, but also have access to all of the innovative curriculum programs that were accessible to other students. So, since it was hard to find that, I feel very lucky, privileged to be in the state of Arizona, where we could propose a new innovative charter school focused on children with autism and the way they learn. And after a lot of work and advocacy, our school was approved, started with one little school. I had the state said, we're taking a risk with you. They only gave me 90 seats and, to enroll grades K through 5. Fast forward, we are opening our 5th campus in the fall. Will be serving almost 1,000 students next fall. And what the YAS Prize has helped us fuel is that, you know, clearly I'm not the only mom on a mission wanting to do this. There are other parents and professionals in other states who would like to do an innovative specialty charter focused on special populations, in our case, in specifically autism, but we are helping school leaders and founding teams in the states of Colorado, Nevada, Louisiana, Naples, Florida, and we are expanding our own network in Tucson, Arizona. So what is amazing is that all of those connections with founding teams in other states were facilitated and fueled by being a part of the YAS Prize. So it really is helping take our personal community work that we're doing in Arizona and scaling it to help others not need to reinvent the wheel in this very mission-driven but hard work. And so it is such a special network that you are engaging with. And like Carolyn said, there is absolutely zero downside to being a part of this network by submitting your application. And what you will encounter is unlike any other grant. It's actually mind-blowing. You know, I really see myself as an education entrepreneur, but this expanded me like I never thought I could be expanded. And that it's because they gave me access to people outside of education that are, you know, creating a movement of change in other industry that is long overdue in education. So strap on, you know, put on your seatbelt, because it's a fun, it's a fun journey. You know, there's no downside. And, you know, just wait and see that just by hitting submit, you're going to be a part of this.
It's a little bit hard to quantify that, you know, that value, right? And there, a lot of people might say, you know what, it's just not our year, or like come up with all these reasons. Dana, I'd like to push it back to you. You know, you talk about that there was actually different things. Can you talk about either someone you met in the accelerator or someone you met in the cohort that just has had a profound impact on either your leadership or the trajectory of your school?
Absolutely. So just this morning, I was on another call with Taylor Sheed from Stimuli Studios. And she is such a powerhouse, and we are very like-minded in wanting to give neurodiverse kids access to jobs like coding, video game design, etc. So we are partnering to start a video game design studio called Game Changers on our campus. And this project is going to be fueled by funding sources that we're both partnering to get, including research funds from the Gates Foundation. I would have never met Taylor if it wasn't for the YAS Prize. And we're starting a business for our kids together, which is something I never thought I would be able to do, because you know, the metaverse and AI is not my skill set, but together with Taylor, I can bring her talent to this project. And when we do a project, the reason why we're getting R&D dollars is because we want to replicate it across, you know, all of the schools that we are forming in our state and throughout the nation, which is really reinventing what special education is. So, I mean, that only happened because of that connection. I also brought in the Rock by Rock curriculum into Arizona Autism Charter Schools, and was really blessed to have Jim and Sunye come and visit and see the curriculum in action. And we already did project-based learning at our schools, but this brought project-based learning to the next level. And that was my dream for my kids always. But now with the YAS Prize connections, I have access to all of this national talent that actually is finding ways to scale their work, and and then I could source that and bring it to my kids and my school, that's just priceless. And whether I was a winner, top winner or not, I would have still had access to all of those connections, that's really the top prize. Just the access to the national talent pool and the accessibility to people who actually want to join forces and do so much better for kids.
And I think that sourcing is a really interesting point of we do the sourcing for you. We were just at the National Charter School Conference, and when you're in the exhibit hall, it's overwhelming how many different vendors and people saying they're doing project-based learning or this app or this app, and you have to do that research yourself of what's the best one for my community. We almost do that for you of like, this is the best financial literacy app that you can find. This is the best project-based learning. And therefore it allows you to like Diana to focus on growing and adding more schools and not having her teachers and her design the project-based learning experiences herself. Like we only have a certain amount of time. So, right, if she can leverage that collaboration, that benefits your leadership, your school, your teachers' sanity, and obviously the students. Portia, I'd love to come back to you. What has been the impact of the OSPRIZE in terms of, I know you're adding students like Diana is. Can you tell us a little bit more about, the difference between last year and this year in terms of what that funding was able to do for you?
Oh, wow. It has completely transformed with our school. Not only is it just transformed the school, but transformed the mindset of myself personally, the staff, and even what we look like in the community of Pritchard. We're this small private school here in Pritchard, Alabama, but to be known and recognized nationally is like, wow, so it's been so many people who have shown interest in the school. Our strategic plan was where we wanted to grow the school beginning in 2025. Because of the YAS Prize, and only because of the YAS Prize award, we were able to implement and execute that vision this year, where we're adding a pre-K4 class. But not only are we adding a pre-K4, we're adding a kindergarten class as well, because we're planning for those children who are coming this year to transition for kindergarten, and we'll continue to add students all the way through to 5th grade. So we were able to go ahead and get that strategic plan and do it in 2023 opposed to 2025. What it also has done, just echoing what Diana has said, the network of people. Just this morning with Rock by Rock with Sanye, we're emailing about implementing a change here with technology at Pritchard Prep, which that is not my expertise, but just having the network of people to talk to collaborate with, even with our cohort with Kanisha Skaggs, who's also a finalist. She and I are partnering to talk about boosting employee morale surveys for the employees as well. So it has changed the entire school, where we're excited. We were anticipating going to Miami, anticipating going to New York. So it has created this momentum and excitement. And then when we have the opportunity to be a part of the alumni family, I'm like, wow, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to apply for this award, for this grant. But it's bigger than a grant. And even as Diana said, it's not about, oh, it's $1 million. There is no loser when you apply. Everyone is a winner. And the networking, the professional development, and the endless opportunities. I mean, I feel like that has been really what has transformed Pritchard Prep altogether.
I promise I didn't set that up where they both talked to other alumni this morning, right? And I think that just shows like we didn't know that was happening. We're so grateful, and we're not surprised it's happening. But it's not something like I set up, right? Or so I think it just shows that slide I had of the Yas family extends, like the relationships extend past December. And that's true of our team. And that's true of each other, right? And the fact that they're connected also to, they both mentioned people from the first cohort. And the fact that just because you're a freshman or a sophomore or different like cohort levels or years doesn't mean that you can't leverage each other. So the fact that they're speaking to Jeff and Taylor and Kenesha, like it's just one big family without sounding naive about it. As we kind of wrap up, Diana, I would love to, one of the misconceptions we get is, the accelerator seems like a lot of time, or like you're going to make me travel where, but I'm in charge of like my school and like what are my employees going to do? Like what are all my teachers going to do? What would you say to that person if they're like, I don't know if I can leave, right? And take this time away to be in Miami for a week. What would you say to that person?
Yes, that is a challenge for sure, that that it would be in the best interest of every leader personally to overcome, and also in the best interest of your school or your organization, because it's part of sustainability planning. No, nothing at your school should only rely on you or one person. We know your school or your organization exists because of you, but then part of long-term sustainability is being able to step away in search of greater things for your school. So then that means you have to have people and a team in place who can do a wonderful job following your mission and vision at your school. Because believe me, it's time well spent that will bring so much to your team, so much to your students, your families, that, if you're going to step away for any reason, this would be the thing, because it has such exponential benefits to your own growth as a leader, and also what it brings back to your team, your kids, your family. So I think it's a good exercise. Many of the leaders that I met in all of the out-of-state accelerators were not used to leaving their schools and were a little like uncomfortable. But then after a while, they're like, oh my goodness, my team has this. All of the activities laid out go on because you are building a pipeline of people who can also do the work and love the work and are willing to sacrifice as much as you. So it is a great exercise in stepping away for those weeks, and then knowing and understanding that it is for the greater good of yourself, your team, and your school, your kids.
And we take each of those, opportunities so seriously. Like we wouldn't expect or want you to step away, whether it's a virtual or an in-person opportunity, if we didn't put our best foot forward. So that's why we already invited all of the accelerator speakers, because we want the best of the best, and we know we need to invite them now for something in November. And so, we take it really seriously. We're not just going to give our, C plus lineup. Portia, I'll end with you. What would you tell yourself what would you have loved to have told yourself 1 year ago? If you're ready to hit submit, what would you love to tell yourself?
Don't hesitate. I would tell myself, do not hesitate. As a leader, I'm going to liken it to being a mom or a dad. Of course, I'm a mom, but as a mom, you're always pouring out. I have 3 children. You're always pouring out. You're taking care of this, and that. And as a leader of a school, I'm here to pour out to my students, to my parents, to my staff, board members, stakeholders, the community. What the accelerator provided for me was an opportunity to sit back and be poured back into. And most leaders, you don't see that. You get to sit back and hear, not only from an education perspective, but also from a business perspective, looking at the finances of the school, how to grow the school, what you need to do to take care of yourself as well. Agreeing with Diana, it was a challenge, but as a leader, you do not want to be an organization that's one man dependent. So it was an opportunity for me to pull back and to say, hey girl, they got this. They can take care of it. You had phone calls and different things from here to there, but I had the opportunity to see how amazing my staff is, and they were during that time. So I would tell myself, absolutely, do not hesitate, and that your future self is going to really be excited about the award and the opportunities that you have today?
Well, we're going to get to the question and answer, but before I do, Portia and Diana, you continue to be an inspiration for our team, for our fellow alumni, and I know for the applicants on this call. And if you become, or when you press submit, which I know you all will, and if you become an awardee of ours, you'll get to hopefully meet some of our awardees in person in Miami and Cleveland, and various other events. So that would be so cool to be able to actually, meet these two heroes in action. So thank you both for taking the time, because I know that time is precious and valuable, especially in the summer. We're going to get to some awesome questions. I might punt a question to Diana or Portia, but let's get started. Sandra asked, what are some acceptable forms of data along with testing scores? I'm assuming you're asking about the outstanding question, which asks, how do you measure that you're outstanding? And the most important thing to think about is, what are you most proud of? It could be test scores, it could be graduation rate, it could be something related to social emotional. Diana, do you want to briefly share in like 30 seconds how you, how you share how you're outstanding? Because I know that's different for students with neurodiverse.
Yes, I was so grateful for the opportunity to share our alternative test data. So in lieu of state testing, we use iReady and also ABA-based data, which is clinical data that's best practice for kids with autism. And we also have amazing parent satisfaction results. So I love that the question was open-ended and it wasn't just about state test scores, because that's not where my population shines. But I did have other amazing data for the different levels of kids that we serve that shows how we're growing those kids and how we're meeting and exceeding goals. So don't be shy about showing other sources of data that are outside of state testing. If you have other ways to demonstrate, how you grow your students and how you get them to shine.
And I think about also Father Judge, which is a school in Philadelphia. One of their metrics that they gave was related to how many of their students became certified welders. And knowing that, welders and plumbers and electricians are, it makes a great living, and less people are going into the trades. And that was a really amazing statistic, because that's what they focus on, right? So it's not one thing, but we do expect everyone to be specific. And if I read an answer that's not that's now outstanding, but it's not specific, and you take a lot of time to get to like your thing that you should be most proud of, it's harder to understand. So be specific, be bold, start strong. Clement asked how, in terms of, so there is a new question this year that Diana and Portia didn't have to answer, but it is new this year, of how much money do you spend per student? For both of these two educators, that'd probably be a pretty easy question for them to answer, because they probably know it off the top of their heads. For ed tech, it's a little harder, and I understand that. So I would just do an average. You can't leave it blank, and putting 0 would be like a little strange. You can expand a little bit more in your sustainability answer if you need to explain, but I would just do an average of about how much do you spend per pupil. Tony asked about Cleveland. So the Cleveland event is super exciting. It's brand new. It's called the Yas Prize Summit. And this is a way to partner with Forbes, who will simultaneously have their Forbes Under 30 summit going on. But we're also going to have a Yas Prize Summit, which is like a convening of the brightest and the best leaders in education, that's open to like a select group of people, where our accelerator is open for our awardees. And it will be a full day of programming on Tuesday, and then Tuesday night will be the gala at the Cleveland Art Museum, and that's when we'll take our 64 and announce our 32. And so that means that you're that much closer to, being in Portia's shoes, or she was one of our 32, or being in Diana's shoes and being closer to the $1 million. Okay, someone received an error for the video link. Okay, so this is a great question. So 2 things about videos. One, we don't expect you to create new videos. Judges will most likely not see the videos. It only gets seen by our team at the way end, if you're like one of the top I would say 80 people before we narrow it down. But this is a great point of like, right, this person went to submit and then it wasn't letting them because of a URL issue. If you waited until Saturday night at 9 p.m., that's gonna be a lot more stressful. So figure out those kinks now. I would suggest it's maybe either private on YouTube and therefore the link isn't working. So maybe making it public, but know that those videos and pictures are only really being seen by like our internal team. So I would just try that out. Email us at info@YASPrize if it's still being an issue, and we can absolutely work with our platform. In regards to how much state money do our students receive per pupil, does that include federal dollars? Yes, if you receive federal dollars like, you know, Diana does in Arizona, you would include that information in that question. Okay. We're gonna do 2 more questions. So many to choose from. Okay, can we submit just to make sure it goes through and then go back in and edit after? So no. Once you submit, it's not a black hole because we get it, but once you submit, you submit. So I think there's a way to kind of go through and double check. And I would just, you know, work to submit on Thursday and Friday. Again, it's not that you can't submit on Saturday. I can guarantee you my team support all the way through Friday. And Saturday is just going to be tougher due to the nature of the weekend. And so I don't want people, you know, my team is working to be super responsive and super, you know, that's our job this week to make sure that your job is easy. And we can definitely do that through Friday. So please know that. Last one, we get a lot of questions about financial documents. I'm not sure what Portia and Diana submitted, but a profit and loss sheet, a W-2, tax returns. Basically, if you think about, if I have a board and I want to show them like what I'm bringing in and what expenses I have, like what would I show them? It doesn't have to be anything official. Sometimes it is official. Sometimes if it's a new organization, it's not as official or it's not as like legal. But just something to show inflow and outflow, and know that that's only seen by our internal team. That's not seen by external judges for confidentiality reasons. I'm sorry if I did not get to answer your question, but info@YASPrize is the best way to ask it if it's something super sensitive that you need answered before you submit. Diana and Portia, thank you both so much again. I know that our next semifinalist and $1 million winner might even be on this call. And so they might be up with this crew next year, a year from now. You never know what's possible if you don't submit. So just like Portia said, don't hesitate. You know where to find us. You know where to find us at office hours on Thursday and Friday this week. And please contact us anytime before Friday, just to get those tech questions answered. Okay, good luck. We'll see you all soon. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Portia. Talk to you everyone soon.